three, got it! Oh, baby!
It's a goal, the Stanley Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks.
You can put it on the board! Yes!
Welcome back, sport fanatics, to another edition of the Sports Zone. I'm Stephen Nicholas.
And I'm Mitch Schaefer. Illinois Wesleyan honored a legend on Saturday night. Sam Ostrowski joins us in the studio with more. Sam?
Thanks, guys. The Illinois Wesleyan men's basketball team was playing in their final regular season game last night against Elmhurst, but the fans weren't there to just support their team, but rather for an honor that was being presented to a longtime Titan. It was senior night for the Titans as they prepared to take on one of their rivals in the Elmhurst Blue Jays. However, it wasn't just the game or the seniors that the fans came out to cheer on, but rather this game represented the first game that the team would play on their court named after Denny Bridges. Bridges was a longtime coach and athletic director for Illinois Wesleyan and is known as one of the best Division III coaches of all time with his 667 wins. Former Titan player and NBA legend Jack Sikma made it out to stand by his former coach during this great honor. He gave Bridges lots of credit for the success he has had throughout his career.
And he was committed that I get a go-to move, and we decided on one, and then he made sure that followed through on it, and it's the move I used throughout my career in the NBA too, with the inside pivot and turning and shooting. So he helped develop my game. He challenged me to be better.
The halftime show included an emotional speech by Bridges as he stood by his friends, former players, and family.
Well, I'm an emotional person, and it used to be at halftime when I did the senior night, I'd cry. So I was afraid I was going to cry tonight, but went slow, drank a little water, and got through it and looked back on it as really one of my life's highlights.
And as for the game, let's just say Sikma knows best.
We're going to get this one.
And that they did. The Titans wouldn't do anything less but take home a big win 96-66 on the new Denny Bridges court. A reception was held after the game for Mr. Bridges where his family and friends came to celebrate his great career. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Sam. Normal Community shot the lights out this Friday night, literally. The Ironmen started their game against Champaign Centennial on a 17-2 run before power was lost, causing a delay as the scoreboard had to be reset.
Normal Community would just keep cruising after that, routing Champaign Centennial 59-31 and claiming their fourth Big 12 Conference championship in the last 5 years. Central Catholic was also in action Friday night.
The sixth-ranked Saints were able to build momentum from a go-ahead three-pointer at halftime and would pull away in the second half to get a big conference win against Pontiac, 84-69.
The Normal West Wildcats boys basketball team went into their game Friday night winners of 3 in a row. Standing in their way was the Bloomington Purple Raiders. TV10's Sean Long was there.
It was a packed house for senior night, and the Wildcats were fired up, getting the tip-off and turning it into 3. But they knew it was not going to be easy from there, as Bloomington matched everything the Cats had to offer, outscoring the Cats 18-21 in the first half. It was pretty clear that Coach was not happy.
We knew we were down, but we hadn't played real well, and again, they had 8 offensive rebounds the first half, and we had too many turnovers the first half, but we felt we were still in the game, not playing real well, but we just never could get the lead and never could get into a groove.
When the teams came back out, it was a back-and-forth defensive game, like it had been. And though the Cats never had the lead, they were still in it. But it was evident the opponents were
physically tougher than us tonight.
Still, they did not give up as the heated rivals duked it out until the end, where they would lose a close one, 48-51. It looks as if this will be a learning experience. But Coach, what are your thoughts?
We got beat offensively. They got a lot of offensive rebounds, second chance points.
Josh Robinson stole the show as he was money from two-point land, putting up 25 points. But that still wasn't enough.
And we didn't come up with enough plays defensively. We didn't get enough rebounds at the end. We had a lot of turnovers, so if we do that, we're not going to win.
These guys make it look so easy. Thought I'd give it a shot. Oh, wait. That's why I'm a reporter. For TV10 News, I'm Sean Long.
The loss moves the Wildcats to 14-10 on the season, and they will look to bounce back next week as they host IVC.
And now here's Gina McCoy with the Redbird Zone.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the Redbird Zone. I'm Gina McCoy. A lot of Redbirds were in action this weekend, starting with Illinois State men's basketball. They hosted Loyola Saturday night and pulled away a 67-60 victory. This allowed the Birds to secure their 4th MVC regular season sweep of the year. Senior guard Dayshawn Knight led Illinois State with 21 points, making this his 7th game of the season with 20 or more points. Illinois State closes out the home portion of its regular season on Wednesday as they take on Southern Illinois on their senior night. It was also a good weekend for ISU women's gymnastics as they set season highs in their dual meet win over Air Force Academy. The Redbirds had their best score yet, setting a season high score of 194-191 Friday night at Horton Fieldhouse. The meet started off competitively as Illinois State and Air Force each took scores of 47.875 after the first rotation. It was not long, though, before Illinois State would take the lead after the second rotation and keep it up for the rest of the meet. And last but not least, Chase Pavlones broke his own Illinois State pole vault record for the 4th time this season. He jumped to a mark of 17:01.75 Saturday at the Orange and Blue Open at Armory to do so. This was the first time he reached the 17-foot mark in his career. He currently holds in the Missouri Valley Conference the #1 record. The Redbirds return to track next weekend as they travel to Northern Iowa for the Valley Championship. And that concludes this week's Redbird Zone. For TV 10 Sports, I'm Gina McCoy. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Gina. Coming up soon, see who we will sit down with in the studio from the Illinois State women's basketball team.
But first, the Bulls and Hawks both had a busy weekend. We will check out some of the highlights from a couple of those games when we return to the Sports Zone.
Later on the Sports Zone, we will be up in the smack for the 2nd time this season, see what's heating up in the social media and who is talking smack.
And then join Tyler Merritt as he sits down in the studio with an Illinois State women's basketball player. See not only what is ahead for their team, but as well as their futures as well. All that and more after we return. But first, we're going to talk about some highlights.
Yeah, Bulls played twice this weekend as well as the Hawks. Bulls started out against the Pistons. Pau Gasol would have a big night, but first, Derrick Rose is just going to take it against the Pistons. He was in full attack mode, and then a pass off to Kirk Heinrich. He'll hit his 3, his only 3 of the night, so he didn't do too well. And then a big block by Tony Snell, but then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers on my hand, and that's as many rebounds as Andre Drummond got right there for the putback. That would end up being it as Contavious Caldwell-Pope with the exclamation point for the Pistons, 191, they would go on to win.
And then after that, it was the Bulls taking on the Phoenix Suns at home. It's a stretch of 8 straight home games for the Bulls. We'll kick it off here in the first quarter where we have Pau Gasol, hitting the jumper there, 2 points, puts the Bulls up by 5. Later on, we have Tony Snell going backdoor. He's been playing hot of late, and he gets the dunk. That gives the Bulls a 7-point lead. Later on in the second, we have a tie game, and Derrick Rose doing what he does best, goes the hole, scoops it, scores it, 2-point lead, and this will take us to the third quarter. We'll go to the fourth quarter here, and Pau Gasol gives the Bulls a 4-point lead. But those Phoenix Suns, they do not quit. Here's the kick out to Markieff Morris. He hits the 3, and suddenly it's just a 1-point game. Bulls would hit 2 free throws, and they would have one last chance here to tie it, but Jimmy Butler would rebound it. He would secure it, and he would score 2 free throws there to give the Bulls a 112-107 lead. Pau Gasol was huge in this one, 22 points, 9 of 13 shooting, another double-double of 14 rebounds, and he had 2 blocks on top of that.
And then over at the United Center on Friday night, the Hawks took on the Colorado Avalanche. Christopher Stieg with that goal off an errant Roosevelt pass. But then 1-1, Colorado had a 5-on-3, and Gabriel Landeskog would end up making that goal. You just can't let that one through. And then Brad Stewart's just going to flip it up for a shift change, and Corey Crawford, not even through the wickets, not even anything bad. You just can't let that one go through. Colorado would end up winning 4-1 over the Hawks.
And the Blackhawks also played one other game this weekend, and we don't even want to show it to you. It was that bad. They were playing the Boston Bruins, and they would lose that game 6-2. It was a rough one, tough to swallow, but they hope to get back on track in their next game.
Later on the Sports Zone, we will be up in the smack for the second time this season. See what's heating up on social media and who is talking smack.
And then join Tyler Merritt as he sits down in the studio with an Illinois State women's basketball player. See not only what is ahead for their team, but for her future as well. All of that and more when we return.
On this senior day, it's hard to say goodbye to one who has helped lead the way. It's been a joy to see you become all you can be, and everyone will agree, there's no one finer than Katie Wingy.
Senior night. A night full of happy emotions with family nearby. Tonight's night was Katie Wingy's. The woman from Eden Prairie, Minnesota set in stone a great legacy that she will forever look back on. From 587 points, 199 rebounds, and 117 assists, Wingy definitely brought Redbird Arena to life these past 4 years.
Redbird Arena has kind of been my nest that I've called home for the past 4 years, and now that I'm a senior, I'm ready to spread my wings as a Redbird and leave the nest into the real world.
Wingy netted 19 points in her final home game here tonight. Wingy was a role model on and off the court, and she will certainly be missed by her teammates, coaches, and fans.
I've met some incredible people, and it's something that I will never forget it. And I have no regrets coming in here. There's so many wonderful people who have impacted my life, and I can't thank everyone enough.
For TV10 News, I'm Jordan Klein.
Tyler Merritt here on the Sports Zone, and we are sitting down today with a women's basketball player. It's number 24, the lovely Katie Wingy, and thank you for joining us, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
And it's hard not to notice first, I guess they can't see it on the camera, but if they looked down, you'd see there it is, the boot on the foot. How's it feeling?
It's good. It's still attached, so I always joke and say that when people ask me how it's doing. I mean, it's my senior year, and I don't want to waste any time trying to heal it or rehab. I only have a couple weeks left, so it's kind of just push through and make the most of it. Obviously, I'm in the boot off the court, so I'm trying to rest it as much as I can.
And how's it been playing the most minutes you've ever played in your career, and 7 more minutes than any other player on the team? You're playing 35 of the 40 minutes every game, even with the injured foot. How's it been?
It's been good. I don't notice it as much as I'm playing. I'm focused on a lot of other things and trying to direct and play to the best of my abilities and make sure I'm executing what coach is asking us to do. So I don't think about it so much when I'm on the court. It's right after the game that it hurts the most, and I realize, oh yeah, I have a stress fracture, and maybe should be a little bit more careful, but I only have a couple games left, and I'm just trying to make the most of them.
All right, and let's talk about the season a little bit. Obviously, it didn't go as we wanted it to go, but you're the only senior on the team, so there's a lot to look forward to for everybody else. What would you say this year? I was looking at the stats. I'd say turnovers is the biggest thing that you guys got to work on. You're having 5 more turnovers than your opponents every game. What do you think is the biggest thing that the team has to work on, if there was one thing?
I think you're absolutely right. Valuing the basketball is something that we really, really have to focus on. I think we have to figure out a way to box out, too. I think we're kind of undersized in the Valley, and our guard play has been really strong this year. Sometimes we've been playing with 5 guards instead of any posts inside. And I think that we have to find a way to limit the other team's offensive rebounds. Some of the teams are getting way more opportunities to score than we are, which has to do with offensive rebounding and, like you said, valuing the basketball. So we need to focus on both of those things in the future.
So it is a rarity for you to be the only senior on the team. You've played with everybody else. What's the future like for them? What do they have to improve on, and do you think that they can going into next year?
I think this year has been a learning experience more than anything. It was really important for some of the younger players to get some more minutes under their belt, some more tighter games under their belt, and just getting different experiences that they haven't had before on the court. And I think moving forward, they're going to know what to expect next year. Everyone's played a lot of minutes. Our bench is very deep.
Yep.
Everybody that's come in has gotten some playing time at least, so they're going to know what to expect, and they're going to know what they're good at. The roles are going to be more established next year, and I think that that's going to ultimately lead them in a better direction.
All right, so yesterday was your last day at Redbird Arena. It was senior day, or Katie Wingy day, pretty much. I'm an intramural basketball type of guy, and It's my last game coming up.
Yeah.
How do I prepare for something like that when I step on the court for the last time?
You can't really, honestly. I mean, I thought about it a bunch of times, and even when your name is announced in that starting lineup, you can't imagine the feelings and the emotions that you're experiencing. So you just got to enjoy that last moment and make the most of it.
All right, and thank you very much, Katie. Always nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And coming up, we're going to be in the smack. We'll see which NFL quarterbacks are firing back on Twitter, and then we will also look at what is ahead for Illinois State's men's basketball as they approach March Madness, and that's right around the corner, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Social Media Analytics Command Center. I know that's a mouthful, but some athletes also got a mouthful this week. We'll take a look over here. Tell us about Colin Kaepernick, Mitch.
Colin Kaepernick, he actually tweeted recently, 1,000 abs, arm workout, 10 minutes straight on the jump rope. That's a pretty long time. 2-hour study session in February. That's what we call a recovery day. A fan wasn't really appreciative of that.
Yeah, check out what the fan had to say here. Ab workout won't help me find an open receiver. Hashtag study. Clearly a shot at his poor completion percentage over the season.
That's fine. People are going to hate because Colin Kaepernick, he tweeted a couple other things. My favorite thing he's put, though, you got 8 followers, bruh. Your own family don't even want to know what you're doing. Get better at life. What a shot.
Clearly shots fired there.
And then also another quarterback, RG3. What do you have to say?
Yeah, this other quarterback, RG3 here, he said he posted an Instagram video of him singing Billie Jean, and one critic did not really like that. He said, "This is why you will be cut after next year in Washington, why you weren't even mentioned as the future. You are a QB, act like one. He cares more about his brand, social media, than working in his craft." Wow, that's clearly a shot there. And unfortunately, he responds to it, and he did not have much good to say. If giving back to the community and training for football at the same time is frowned upon, then what would you say I do, sir? Not give back or train? Honest question. Oh, wait. And should I not enjoy a classic song with others who love MJ? I'm just asking for your wisdom here.
All right, now, Steven, this whole Twitter beef between fans and players, how does social media, how does that affect interaction between fans and players?
Well, first off, I really don't think if athletes can't handle this criticism that they should even be on social media at all. Because, like right here, this hurts your image. You don't want to be seen as a guy who can't take criticism, whether it be constructive or not. It's just not good for the athletes if they can't handle it.
Absolutely. And then on Thursday, we had the NBA trade deadline, and you can see, Steven, what do these numbers say to us?
It says that these players that got traded were being talked about. Obviously, the biggest name that was being talked about heading into the deadline was Goran Dragic. You'll see here February 17th, people were talking about him because he was probably the hottest commodity on the trade deadline, and then he obviously got traded to the Miami Heat. Tell us more about another player, Mitch.
Absolutely, one of my favorite players from my childhood, Kevin Garnett. He wasn't really being mentioned a lot, and then they said he might be going back to Minnesota. But another player we're talking about, Reggie Jackson, he tweeted a couple things. What did he say?
Yeah, he was probably the happiest player to get traded. He wanted to be traded. He didn't want to be a backup anymore, and he's going to get that chance in Detroit, where he's now the starting point guard after their starting point guard got injured. Here's what he had to say on Twitter. "Just woke up from a nap, a Piston, hashtag Detroit basketball. Crying tears of joy, hashtag God is great." And then he also went on to thank the Thunder afterward. He was clearly really happy about being a Piston there.
All right, well, that's it for what we have in the Smack today. Coming up, we're going to have highlights as well as our sports calendar for ISU Sports. Stay tuned.
Taking a look ahead at your weekend sports, the ISU men's basketball team will be back in action on Wednesday night. They'll be taking on Southern Illinois, hoping to avenge their defeat from earlier this month. It will be the final home game of the season for the Redbirds. Tip-off is at 7.
Next, Illinois State women's gymnastics will look to beat their season-high scores this week. They will travel to St. Charles, Missouri to take on Lindenwood with UIC and Eastern Michigan. The meet begins at 4 p.m.
And finally, ISU softball has gone 2-3 of all 3 of their weekend trips so far with an overall record of 6-9. They will look to tie up their weekend trip record this weekend when they travel to Texas Friday for 5 games at Texas A&M. They will take on the host Aggies twice, UTSA twice, and Boston University.
And we would like to thank you all for joining us today on the Sports Zone. For Stephen Nicholas, Mitch Schaefer, Gina McCoy, I'm Tyler Merritt. Thank you, Sam Ostrowski. We'll all be back next week, as we always are, Mondays at 12:30, and we will see you then.